So Rwanda vote made it through the second reading last night. We have to hope that it'll make it through onto the statute books. I personally think it will be, if it happens, quite a big disincentive for people coming to the UK. Reform Party, I think, do you take that view? I mean, do you have a view? Is this a good policy? Should we continue with it?
Well, Reform has been a long-time critic of the Rwandan policy itself, as well as the legislation which supports it. And the reason we're critical of the policy is because we don't think border control should be seen through the prism of deportation. Deportation is what you have to do when border control has failed. And what we advocate, and what I think, if you don't mind me saying so, is self-evidently commonsensical, is that to prevent people from entering our country illegally, you've actually got to stop them at the border, which is the 12.5-mile territorial water limit with France.
OK, so you're advocating this idea of pushback. We've actually discussed this today.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
So
what is pushback?
Yeah.
If I'm coming, people are coming over on a small dinghy, you know, Reform's policy of pushback is in place. What would it mean in practice?
Well, in practice, you have to have a well-trained, determined force at the point of our territorial waters that simply will not allow these boats to pass. And that is a physical process, and it's not without danger. But what I would add is that these people...
So we had Kevin Saunders on earlier, very former senior member of the UK Border Force coming to us. And what he said about this, and he's an expert, he said that the people traffickers are onto this, bluntly. They're coming in not fit-for-purpose vessels, knowing that they will be recognised as soon as they get to British waters. If you push them back... Now, Australia did this very successfully. That's why it's quite an appealing policy. Yeah. But the boats they were dealing with were really big boats. These people are in tiny little dinghies. If you push them back, they will capsize. There's no way of doing it without capsizing them. People will fall into the channel, maybe in English waters, maybe in French waters. What are you going to do? You let them drown?
No, you wouldn't let them drown. I mean, there are any number of things you could do. You could provide a spare boat. You could always have one in tow, and they could all climb back into a boat. So... if people willfully wish to endanger themselves...
It's a hypnotically simple idea, isn't it? Look, they're coming to our border, quite right, sea border, push them back over, make them French. I just don't think it would work. But I wish it would work, but I just don't think it will. I think it's too simplistic.
The presumption underneath your rejection of it is that we are somehow responsible for their safety. Remember, these people have paid people smugglers good money to put themselves in harm's way to make it to the 12.5-mile point. They're quite capable of turning around and going back to France. If they choose not to do so, then they are putting themselves in physical danger.
Do you know, they are slightly onto us about this. Now, Priti Patel tried this, and it didn't work. And I've spoken to Priti about it, former Conservative Home Secretary. Number one, they only put enough fuel to get 12.1 miles or whatever it is off the French coast.
Well, then leave them stranded.
Leave
them stranded.
OK, all right, leave them stranded. So you won't push them back if it kills them, if they capsize, or leave them stranded. It's the busiest shipping lane in the world. I really want what you say to be right.
You're giving in to their blackmail. It's a blackmail, isn't it? We're here, our lives are in danger, you need to rescue us. That is blackmail, and we mustn't give in to it. These people have made this journey from a safe country willingly of their own free will. And it's about time Western democracies, and it's not just a problem in the United Kingdom, woke up to the fact that people must take responsibility for their own decisions. If these people are choosing to try to enter the United Kingdom illegally, we need to deal with it forcefully.
You're right. I agree with you. But the simplistic solutions that you're offering, turn them back, leave them adrift, they are going to die. Well, how long do you think the British public will stomach or be happy with a government, whichever government it is, Labour, Reform, Conservative, how long do you think the British public will say, 1,000 people have died in the Channel today? Let me put that news in. 1,000 people have died in the Channel today because of the action of the UK government. I don't think the British public have...
1,000 people will never die. The most effective deterrent is knowing that you will not be allowed to enter British territorial water. No deterrent could be more effective than that.
I agree with you. I'm sorry,
and once they get that message, they will stop, and the problem will stop. I mean, you talk about the robustness of the boats that the Australians turned back. Maloney has exactly the same opportunity. They are robust boats coming across from North Africa. Maloney doesn't do it because she's captured by the same political weakness that in Western democracies across the board are captured by.
Well, let's talk about Meloni for a second, because, of course, they have agreed an offshore processing site with Albania. It's not yet law. It's got to go through the Albanian parliament on the 21st of December, I believe it is. Not given. It's quite a left-wing parliament, as it happens. It's certainly not a left-wing government in Italy. She has accepted, and their government has accepted, the best deterrent you can have is allowing people to enter your territorial waters or your nation and then immediately removing them to a place they don't want to be, whether it's Albania or Rwanda. They paid to come to the UK. They don't want to end up in either Albania or Rwanda, and processing them there. That's ultimately actually where the Australians succeeded. Well, I mean, they did this offshoring, albeit to an Australian territory, and then removed people directly from there. You say you don't support the Rwanda bill. Reform UK doesn't support the Rwanda bill.
I mean, the bill doesn't work anyway.
Well, OK, yeah, but let's say it does. No, let's not get into technicalities. We want to hear from you. We want to hear solutions. It's dead easy.
Well, I've given you the solution.
It's dead easy to say, well, I would say, I don't think it'll work. Governments around the world are offshoring. It's dead easy to say this is a problem. If Rwanda doesn't work, in terms of offshoring, what should the government do? Should they just not do it at all?
And the reason I brought Meloni up...
Capsizing dinghies in the Channel.
The reason I brought Meloni up was to evidence the fact that this is not restricted to countries that have to deal with dinghies. This is something that's much wider than this. And can I just give you another example? When Poland was effectively attacked by Belarus, when they were importing immigrants into Belarus and trying to promote them into Poland as a form of warfare, effectively, the Poles took an absolutely robust position. They put wired fences up and they parked their army behind the wide fence. That is border control.
Correct. And it's very easy to defend a land border.
But the US doesn't do it. The US is hijacked too.
It's easier to defend a land border than it is to defend a sea border. Look, if turning the boats back worked, Italy would be doing it. I say, we just disagree about that. But it's not all about illegal migration. Now, you and Reform have spoken a lot about the challenge we face with legal migration.
That's the bigger challenge.
750,000 people come into the UK. The latest figures, far too high.
We're losing young aspirational Brits to go abroad and work. And part of the reason we need immigrants is because our taxation system is simply penalising the working and middle class too much. We've got to cut taxes on the working middle class. It's an absolutely critical point in time at the moment. We've got 6 million people now on universal credit to a greater or lesser extent. 2 million of those 6 aren't even looking for a job. 1.5 million are looking for a job, and the others are in partial employment. And the only way you get Britain working again is to make it pay to work. And one of the first things Maggie Thatcher did, the first thing, actually, she didn't get inflation under control and then cut taxes. She cut income taxes as soon as she took office.